All right. Y'all, this is the recap of Brother Malachi. So he'll recap what we've been talking about, then we'll get into the questions and answers. So, let him get his recap in. Go ahead, Malachi.
All right, he just talked about the picture history of Jewish civilization, showed them those war captives. We get to the book of Joshua, we went to war with the Egyptians and saved them plenty of times. And upon our saving them, they had fled from the front line. We came back into Egypt and put a lot of them to the sword. Now we started building treasure cities for Pharaoh. And they craftily put us into slavery. They was paying us, and then it was us working alongside with the Egyptians, and one by one they started sliding out craftily until you looked up and they imposed their will on us. That's why it says chained war captives, because we had went to war and saved Egypt. And it tells you in that very book of Exodus that we became a mighty and great army in Egypt. Armies fight wars. So again, you stand corrected on that. And then this right here, this Manetta Pastille is on the back page. Or second to the last page on your packet that we gave y'all, archaeological proof of Israel's existence. We got the Shalmaneser stele, came to the throne of Assyria in 859 BC and reigned in 824 BC. He was the son of the mighty conqueror Ahushapar, and the first Assyrian king to go to war with Israel. And then on the very next one, it shows King Jehu bowing down. It says on each of the four sides there are 5 panels with carvings of various kings bringing tribute to King Shalmaneser III. The second panel from the top of the obelisk reveals King Jehu of Israel bowing at the feet of Shalmaneser of Assyria. That's the second stela. That's the one right there in the middle, second from the left. Now if you go now, he brought up the Manetta Pastille, also known as the stele or Israel stele or victory stele of Merni Ptah. Is an inscription by the ancient Egyptian king Merni Ptah, reigned from 1213 to 1203, discovered by Flinders Petrie in 1896 at Thebes. Brother got the book right over it. At Thebes. Oh, hold it up, you bro. That's the actual stele right there. And it says, and now housed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, line 27, Israel is desolate. Her seed is not. Not desolate. It don't say that they don't exist no more. Also, we got the letter from the Elephantine Papyri requesting the rebuilding of the Jewish temple at Elephantine, Egypt. Now let's go on to this, the very front page. The 10 plagues accounting Egypt. Very front page, Ippawar Papyrus. It goes into, it says, plagues throughout the land, blood is everywhere. Torah, Exodus, chapter 7 to 20. All the waters of the river were turned to blood. Ippawar Papyrus. Men shrink from tasting human beings and thirst after water. 7 to 24. And all the Egyptians dug around the river for water to drink. They could not drink of the water of the river. And if you jump on over, it talks about the slaves that was cast out. Second page, it says, forsooth, the children of princes are dashed against the walls. 6 and 12. Forsooth, the children of princes are cast out in the streets. The prison is ruined. He who places his brother in the ground is everywhere. And then if you read it, it's a blow-by-blow detailed account, strikingly accurate to the Exodus. Strikingly accurate. Behold, the fire is mounted up on high. Its burning goes forth against the enemies of the land. 13 and 21 Exodus. By day in a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go day by day. So what we did here and what this was all about was who God is God, and was the Bible plagiarized. He has not once went to his book in which the Bible supposedly plagiarized out of. What he did was bounce around everywhere. Go into your book and show how the Bible is plagiarized out of Egypt. He has yet to prove that. He went to Psalms 120 and said something about Meshach. But see, when you're dealing with English words translated from Hebrew, you got to go into the Hebrew. It's Mawashah, a son of Japheth, and today it's Moscow. It's right there in Russia. Russia. You feel me? If you try to take your ruler from Jerusalem and go straight north, you're going to bump right into Moscow. And that's the very same piece of land that Meshach is named after, or Mawashah, because he was trying to say that it wasn't a place. So everything he went to, from the wisdom to the Bible being stolen out of Egypt and various cultures, You have not been able to prove that not one time.
30 seconds.
Everything you went to was disproven with the Bible, and then we went everywhere else and showed you. You feel me? And again, why are the Romans writing about Christ, and they bragging about putting him to death, bragging about feeding his people to the dogs and lions and nailing them to crosses? You feel me? But these people were clearly teaching something that was totally against the way of Romans, their ideology, their Caesars, and everything. Go ahead, bro.
And one of the things you also said, again, we're going to get back on Africa. You also said that us bringing our Negroes didn't really prove who they was, but it was different groups of people. Now, not yet have you brought a historian out to prove this. You're only speaking out your own imagination or your heart. You ain't brought out nothing to prove anything that you said about Africa, and us not being there. Now, again, the historian that was in there in the early 1400s said those Africans which inhabited Libya and Numidia, which of them worshipped some certain planet, unto whom likewise they offer sacrifices. But some others of the land of the Negroes worship the Lord of the heavens, and they embrace the Jewish law. That's what two groups of historians say. And they also say that Jews are undoubtedly among the oldest of the foreign colonies of North Africa. Ancient tombstones buried under the sands ought to exist in Sus.
And then right here is an ancient map, right here, from Jerusalem to West Africa, we was picked up as slaves. Hebrewisms of West Africa, page 325. One of our migration routes from Jerusalem down through Egypt, through Ethiopia, over to West Africa.
On this is page 336.
All right, y'all, this is the question and answer session. So, look, y'all, let's be as courteous as we can be. Whatever questions you have, let him answer them fully. See, because the script informs us to bid and observe. So we have to, and the only way to bid and observe is to hear him out. So whatever question you ask him, make sure you let him hear out before you cut off the answer he may have. We ain't saving nobody today. So let him answer. So y'all, with that, whoever holds their hand up, we go to you individually, and nobody else hollering out, y'all, if we can help it, y'all. Let's not get the movie theater syndrome up in here.
Okay, so the prophets wrote who wrote, I guess you believe in the Book of the Dead? Who brought that forth?
Well, okay. First of all, I wanted, like I said, I don't worship the Egyptian gods. I do not believe that Egyptian gods brought the Book of the Dead to earth. You misinterpreted what I'm saying. There is a prophecy, you can look this up for yourself, called the Prophecy of Thoth, T-H-O-T-H. And even Josephus mentions in his works how this Egyptian priest spoke this prophecy to this Greek explorer that was in Egypt. And basically he was saying that one day Egypt will be invaded by strange barbarians who today many people like to believe it's the Arabs. That the gods will basically forsake Egypt and it will become a cemetery. So if you read that prophecy, you will see that there are certain, I'm not saying that it's the truth and nothing like that, I'm just saying that other cultures did have prophecy. Like I said, the reason you don't believe that other cultures don't have prophecies is because you don't study other cultures. You just study the biblical culture, which is understandable because you guys believe that you are the biblical Israelites. Also, and I don't want to get away from your question, also too, he said that Mishka is Moscow, right? That's what he said. That's in Russia. So according to the biblical text, it says that David, we believe who's speaking, said that long have I dwelt in the tents of Mishka, or Meshka. So that meant that according to that, David dwelt in Russia, or in Moscow, or present-day Moscow. If you want to translate it, let's say that that's specifically Moscow or Russia today. Also too, he said that the Nubian was...
Answer his question, no.
Okay, yeah, I answer.
We don't want to start teaching, just answer the question. So your question, what are the prophets' names of the books that he studied out?
Yeah, like
what are the prophets' names? Okay, well, in ancient Egyptian culture, they didn't have specifically certain individuals. They had what they called prophets, or but it was never like one prophet going throughout the land preaching prophecies like you have Isaiah or Jeremiah like that. It was really restricted to the priestly class. You had the same thing throughout Greece and in certain parts of Canaan. They were called oracles. Actually, the witch of Endor, which you read in Samuel, when Saul went to this witch to basically resurrect Saul, she was one of those oracles, which were actually African priestesses who went throughout the world, basically giving these prophecies, mainly, and then they really sided with the Romans. There's a book called The Sibyls. You can read it if you want to, the Sylls of West Africa. And the author really goes into how there were different prophetess throughout Egypt, throughout certain places in Europe, and throughout Canaan, who really who spoke certain prophecies and things like that. Not saying that their prophecies were literally true or like that, because we do not know a lot because of Rome, when they built Rome, when they built the papal, the Catholic Church, they buried a lot of texts and things like that. So if you want to read the Apocrypha of the Old Testament, then read the Apocrypha of the New Testament. If you guys like to go to the New Testament, read the Apocrypha of the New Testament, because it is one. Different stories about Jesus, how he dwelt in Egypt and things like that. So just don't read the Apocrypha of the Old Testament. Go to the Apocrypha of the New Testament and read it for yourself and see what you come out with, since you want to go to the book of Jasher and things like that.
Okay, so, next question,
I got a question for you. I see you said that we misinterpreted, about what you said about the God of Egypt. I guess everybody want to know this. Who do you worship? Who is your God?
I believe
hold it down, y'all, let him answer.
I believe in a supreme God. I believe that there is a such thing as evil. I believe that there is a devil, I guess, if you want to say. I do not, me personally in my life, I do not prescribe to any specific set of beliefs, or not beliefs, but I guess like a doctrine. Like I guess if he was a Christian or a Muslim or anything like that. So I do believe in supreme God. I believe he had many names, just like in the Old Testament God had many names.
What's some of his names?
Different. Well, I usually go with more of an African view of God. Different places have different views of God. So you have different names like Olodumare, which is from the Yoruba tribe of West Africa, and of course the Egyptians call him Amun Ra, and then the Igbo tribe.
So is it safe to say if the God you just named is whatever the name was, and the Egyptians called him Amun Ra, you worshiping the same God as Amun Ra, right?
Well, yeah, I guess you can.
So you do worship the gods of Egypt.
Well, I don't literally worship, I don't bow down.
If it's the same person.
I don't bow down to a statue of Osiris.
But you believe in
my prayer. I believe in the thought, the mindset, what they were trying to convey. That's what I believe in. Not that I go into a temple and bow down to an Egyptian god and say, you are my God. No, I don't do that. And I think that's where people get a lot of misinterpretations. Like, again, put words in my mouth. I never did say black Jews or black Hebrews were not in Africa. I never did say that. But when you guys are coming with as if I was saying that there was no such things as Jews or black Israelites. I never did say, I know in history that there were black Israelites throughout Africa. So, I think he had a question.
Oh, hold on. Who next? Go ahead, Moshe. Hold it down. Hold it down, y'all. Go ahead, Moshe.
The question would be, when you do die, where do you believe you're going to go?
I believe that when I die, I would have to answer for what I've done in life. I believe that God holds me accountable. I believe that in all of us, even animals have instincts. Even animals know what not to do and what to do. And even when you come out your mother's womb, you're taught by your mother. You're not taught by the Bible. You're not taught the Ten Commandments. That's later when you grow up. So I believe that when I die, personally, I believe that I will have to answer to certain things. Now, it may seem crazy to you guys since you believe that you have to answer. Jesus, Yeshua covers your sins and things like that. But we got to understand too, not everybody has the same beliefs in this world. And my personal opinion, you can't tell me I'm wrong. Just like I'm not telling y'all wrong. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean when I say like where I believe, where I go when I die. And I'm still on a journey myself. I do not think that I know everything. I still consider myself a student. I'm still growing up. I'm only 20 years old. So it's not like I feel like I know everything about God or I know everything about spirituality at this point in my life. Yes.
Okay.
Is there
next person? Is there any
yes.
No, he's not answering out the book. Y'all noticed that, right? Yeah. Come on.
I want to ask you, there's still one truth though, right?
Yeah.
There's only one truth.
Yeah, I believe that there is one truth that if you study other cultures around the world, you will see a connection around the world about what they believe. Forget the myths and the different stories and the different gods, but a lot of their concepts all comes down to one thing, basically. So you have to study different cultures and not come with a biased mentality that they are already wrong. So, you know what I'm
They
saying?
can have other God. They can have other God, right?
Yeah, because there's different things. There's different types of people say, okay, well, if I'm a monotheist, then therefore you're a polytheist. But there are different types of theism. There's the belief that there's a supreme God who's over small gods, but that there is many gods, but there's only one supreme God. I'm just saying, I don't believe specifically that, but I'm saying there's different beliefs like that.
Okay, next question, got the dog. So basically, y'all look, if y'all have a two-part question, ask the two-part question. If you ask him about prophets, you know, then whatever answer he may give, because there's many prophets, if you're saying that if they prophets fail, you know, ask your two-part question so how he answers is you get your full understanding. Because if you ask one part of it, you're going to want to raise your hand again to ask him the next question behind it. Put it all together in one so he both answer it, and then the question you have behind it either is going to stand against the Bible or it ain't. Go ahead, dog.
My question is, you were talking about the Bible being plagiarized or narratives and stories with Egypt. My question is this: what was before?
What was before Egypt? Well,
Pull it down, y'all.
what was believed to be before Egypt was the Pygmy tribes in West Africa, in East Africa. They were believed to be some of the most ancient people, and there are certain story myths of specifically ancient Egypt, of how Ptah, which was a form of Ra, how he used the Pygmy tribes to basically help him form the earth. So before, if you go further, because Ethiopia, it really is kind of the parent of Egypt. It wasn't Egypt, and Ethiopia is where everything really came from. So you'll see that the more back you go in ancient Africa, because they believe that, you know, we know that life began in Africa. I mean, that's an undoubtable fact that all life began in Africa, or at least somewhere on the African continent.
Yeah, I want to prove it. I feel where you're coming from. But I'm saying there were civilizations before that. You forgot we got a whole world full of water.
And that's what I'm saying. When you say those civilizations before that, what I am saying is that if you study those civilizations, you will see that many of them do not really contradict each other on what they believe. Yeah, they may have their certain name for God or their certain myth, but if you understand the underlying and what they're basically saying and all the myths and the metaphors, it's the same thing.
What I'm saying with that, with us knowing that, there's no way that the scriptures can plagiarize Egypt because if Egypt was
Like I was saying, I keep saying this, and y'all gonna say in the beginning, I never said that Egypt.
We heard your whole dissertation. What I'm saying to you is,
Speak a little louder.
Speak louder, bro. You're saying the scripture is plagiarized based on Egypt, and there are civilizations that predate Egypt. Then Egypt would be the all-knowing source of knowledge.
Okay, let me make this clear. I didn't say that Egypt was the all source of knowledge. I didn't say that Israel. I kept trying to say this.
So how do you stand on this ideology?
I said that Israelites, ancient Israelites, get this to your head, ancient Israelites, when they were writing the scriptures and things like that they weren't sitting down in Israel and say, let's steal this, let's steal that. You see what I'm saying? I am saying that today, specifically today in the 21st century, we don't want to give credit that other people may have had these concepts first. That's what I mean by...
That's the question that I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what I mean by...
How do you totally give credit to Egypt and knowing Egypt isn't...
I don't give credit. Well, I had a presentation, but of course they didn't want... I was trying to lay a foundation where I was going to go throughout different places and records.
Hold it down. What you saying?
So you can't say that Egypt is... You can't say the Bible was plagiarized on Egypt because Egypt wasn't first.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying...
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying, here, we listen to you. We understand what we're saying. Understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you is, if you're definitively standing on Egypt and you came with the Egyptian text today, you're not pleading on behalf of the Pygmies. You're pleading on behalf of Egypt.
That's what you got. That's where you...
Hold it down.
I'm not using...
Hold on a minute.
Hold it down.
The whole entire fact-finding thing was based on Egyptian
I'm
knowledge.
using Egyptian knowledge for the simple fact that Egypt is the only place really in ancient civilization that we can still see. Most places throughout the so-called Middle East and things like that, you really can't see. I mean, you have Babylon and different places that really is like deserts now. You really can't find it. Right, yeah, that's why historians really like to go to Egypt, particularly in Africa, because we can still see it. You see what I'm saying? They still have writing. Most cultures.
Next question.
It was a two-part question. And can you explain Jabal al-Abbas? Can you explain Jabal al-Abbas?
What's that?
Mount Sinai.
Oh, actually, I had a presentation where I was going to...
You had 80 minutes.
I'm talking about
Hold it down, y'all. Next question, y'all.
Well, first of all, because they kept saying you're not putting no scriptures and nothing like that, so that's why like I say, I'm not here to make you believe, because I know when it comes to, first of all, I know that many of us in this room...
Our presentation can't dictate what you put up there.
That's right.
You had 80 minutes to do
I understand that.
So just because he said you ain't going to your book don't mean you couldn't have been doing your presentation.
See, I was trying to lay a foundation down. You can't put that on there because when you lay a foundation down, then you'll kind of get.
Then why didn't you lay your foundation?
I was trying to, but y'all kept saying that I'm not.
You can't put that on us. It's like you just trying
That's why.
Hold it down, next question, hold it down, y'all, next question. Next question.
No, I just want to put this out there right quick. I understand that most of us in this room, including myself, were Christians
Hold it
before
down.
we became Israelites. Am I right or am I wrong? So we already have the idea in our head that the Bible is the infallible word of God. You didn't come to become a Hebrew and then discover the scripture for yourself and say, okay, this is true. You were already under the belief that the Bible is right. I'm not saying that the Bible is right, or I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying that in ancient times that the people were specifically trying to steal. You see what I'm saying?
Next question, bro. We understood that. Next question. Hold it down. Next question. Go ahead, bro.
My question is,
Hold it down, y'all.
if you're not backing, you just said that you just using Egyptology, one of your so-called facts to bring forth your truth. So then my thing is, what is your foundation?
My foundation is this, because my foundation specifically is Africa. Now, don't get me wrong, let me explain what I'm saying, because I know there are many different belief systems in Africa. I understand that. Like I said, the reason I always go back to Egypt specifically is because Egypt, we still have evidence. Most African cultures were oral, so they didn't speak. And the reason so they didn't write down what they were basically saying. The reason that they did that is because when you have something that's sacred, you are going to not write it down because the invaders can look at what you've written down and use it against you. Case in point, over here in America, when the Spanish came to America, one of the Spanish conquerors used the prophecy of the Mayan of this white bearded God coming to their land. He used it against them to basically say, see, that's me.
I understand all that, but then again, what is your foundation?
My foundation is, I'll say it, my foundation is Africa. If you understand, when you research Africa and you understand the underlying message that all of these people are saying, not just the Egyptians, not just the Ethiopians, but all of Africa, when you understand what they're saying under it.
So you believe in every African religion? Like
No. Because that's where you get me wrong. That's where you get me wrong. Because we have in our heads.
Hold it down, y'all. Hold it down. You're saying we. Go ahead.
We have in our heads, and I mean we as black people in America, we have in our heads that we don't think like our ancestors did. Even the slaves that were over here, we are a totally different generation of them. We don't think like they do. So just because we see,
I'm talking about like, what is your foundation?
no, that's what I'm saying. That's why, because I came out of the same mindset too, that Africa specifically has all these different gods.
Well, hold on, brother. Just not so we don't carry on, because the question, like if he asks you what's your foundation, can you just straight point what the foundation is? Go ahead and reteach it again. So we got a lot of hands up here.
So my God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, from the land of Shem. I believe in the truth.
Hold it down.
Of the scripture. What is your belief? Like that's how I just did it. My God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
I believe that.
Truth in the word.
I believe this is specifically my belief. I believe there is a supreme God who created the heavens and the earth, and I believe that each culture around the world, regardless of different myths, names that they gave him, or the different stories or whatever like that, I believe that central belief that there is one God who holds us accountable for what we have done wrong. That's what I believe personally. Now, I understand what you guys believe personally. That's my foundation, that there is a supreme God. You see, and I start from there.
Next question, sir.
Well, that's my son, so of course I would believe the same thing. But what I'm not understanding is that with talking Israelites.
Hold on, sister. That question will be for him. But it ain't this round yet. It's just questions for him right now. And then as soon as you be first up, you get first up on them. Okay.
Is it safe to say that you study Gnosticism, which is part of the flesh of ancient religions, is taught that people should shun the material world?
Yes, I've studied Gnosticism. Do I believe every specific thing that they're saying? For sake of instance, that we should shun the material world. The Bible says the same thing: love not the world. You see, so when I say I study a specific culture, I study a specific belief, does not mean I actually believe what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm just getting
different gods. Very different gods. That's what you believe in, right?
Yeah, I know. Me personally, I believe in a supreme God. I understand that certain cultures did not believe in many gods like we think that they do.